Good morning, City Church. Surprise, surprise, huh? I feel like that TV show, Last Man Standing. For those of you that are on the inside, you understand that joke, okay? So anyway, this morning we're going to change a few things up. We're not going to be in Corinthians like we were. I've developed a message for you today, and that's on the topic of leadership. And the reason I've developed this message is because next week we're going to be installing our new church leaders. And I specifically want them to hear this, but not only do I want them, I want everyone to understand what's going on. First of all, I want to just kind of bring us into a little introduction here. Who's a leader? Who's a leader? Everybody's a leader. Okay, you say, why do I say that? Because no matter who you are, what you do, or where you go, there are eyes on you. They're watching you. Now, if you have a job, you're a Christian, you should be known as the best worker at your job. It's a testimony. You have a family. You have a wife. You have children. You're leading them. In fact, that's your first ministry is your family. Your second ministry is your job. And your third ministry is to your friends. You want to be there to enable and to help them to do better in life and in the service of God. That's our purpose. Okay? So, all this is encompassed around your ministry and your mission, which is laid out by God Almighty. Okay? So please understand that. And I want you to remember this acronym just before I start. It's called JOY. And it stands for Jesus, others, and you. And as long as you remember that and you keep that in your heart, you'll find out that you'll be very successful in your ministry. Because in the service of the Lord, when you take care of His business, He always takes care of yours. Remember that. Okay, we're going to be in 1 Kings chapter 18 this morning, if you would like to turn there. And I want to bring you up to speed on 1 Kings 18. First of all, there's been a lot of trouble. The nation of Israel has been divided. There's now a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. The northern kingdom fell away from God. The southern kingdom still follows God. Okay? Right now, there is a drought in the northern kingdom. The prophet to the northern kingdom was this little bald-headed guy, looked a lot like me. Okay? And his name was Elijah. And Elijah was kind of hidden by God from Ahaz and his wife Jezebel. Now, Ahaz and Jezebel were two of the more wicked kings of Israel, or as we will call it today, Samaria, the northern kingdom. Now, Ahaz was raised up in the nurture of the Lord. He's in the lineage of Solomon. He knew about God, but he married this wicked woman named Jezebel, and she converted him to her religion of Baal worship. Okay? Now, Jezebel went out on a wild rage for 3 years, killing all the prophets of God that she could find. Okay? God had Elijah hidden. But there's other things that we're going to involve here to realize that Elijah thought he was the only one doing the work of the Lord. But we're going to see that God's going to expose a few others here. So if you'll read with me, starting at 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1. And I need to get there. There we go. Got a breeze up here. Okay. Let's pray. Father, as we come to you, we just ask you to open our eyes, ears, and hearts to see and hear and apply what you have for us, that we too may grow in your nurture of the Lord. That, Father, we can learn from your understanding and your wisdom, that you can touch us today, that when we leave here today, we'll be better for it in you. And we just thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And it came to pass after many days that the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, Go show thyself unto Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. And Elijah went to show himself unto Ahab, and there was a sore famine in Samaria. And Ahab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared the Lord greatly. For it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of the Lord, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water. Now I'm going to stop right there for a second. You're going to go, oh, that's pretty cool. He took it upon himself, even though I believe he was instructed by God to do so, to take the 100 prophets that he knew of, and he put 50 in one cave, and he put 50 in another. And then not only did he put them in the cave, but he fed them bread and water. And you go, gee, bread and water doesn't sound good. But understand, there's a famine in the land. That's about all there was. The animals were dying. There wasn't a lot to eat, but Obadiah had the means and the ways to be able to take care of these 100 prophets in God's stead. Elijah does not know that. So we continue on. And Ahab said unto Obadiah, Go into the land, unto all the fountains of the water, and to the brooks, peradventure, that we may find grass to save the horses and the mules alive, that we lose not all the beasts. So they divided the land between them to pass through it. Ahab went one way, and Obadiah went another. Now, notice here, you can see the spiritual condition of Ahab. Ahab is more concerned about the beasts of the field than he is about his own soul. Rather than try to fix the problem, which he already knew how to do, because Elijah had already prophesied that this famine was coming if he didn't change, and he didn't. They're 3 years now into this famine. And all he's trying to do is save his things. You don't see any mention in here, find grass, find food for the people. No, it's so that we don't lose our beasts. So he's very self-centered in this condition. So we need to remember, again, the acronym, JOY, Jesus, others, and you. See, he's got it reversed. It's you or him, others, and then Jesus. So it's easy to get drug off by situations and circumstances. We need to maintain our focus on what we're doing and how we're doing it. And there's many things that we're going to learn here from the prophet Elijah. And the first one that we're going to learn, if you want to look at your note sheet, says, when in a leadership position, you will be always tasked with the difficult decisions in service to God. Now, here's one of those difficult decisions that Elijah had to deal with. He was being sent by God to an individual who was killing prophets. Now, what do you think went through Elijah's mind? We don't see here that he thought, well, wait a minute. You're sending me to a guy who's been looking and searching for me and has put a reward out on my head to kill me, and you want me to go before him? Just present myself to him? Is that a new definition of a living sacrifice? What are we talking about here? But Elijah didn't question it. Elijah walked into him in obedience. And, we find out, point 2, generally the easiest way is not the correct way. The easiest thing for Elijah to do would be turn and say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go over here so I can preach and live another day. But as you'll be tasked by God to do many things, 2 of the things you'll be tasked with is to confront sin and wrongdoing. Confront sin and wrongdoing. When you see things that aren't right, you need to be Christian enough to stand up and try to fix it. You need to understand. You need to analyze. You need to look, and you need to see what's going on. But most importantly, you need to pray, obey, and listen. When do we hear God speak? Usually when it's the quietest, because normally he speaks to us in a small, still, quiet voice. When we go into our prayer closet, wherever that closet may be, it might be in your kitchen. For me, that's common because I cook a lot. And when I'm cooking, I'm always praying, God, let this come out good. Don't let me add something in there that nobody's going to like. Make this meal come good, Lord. I try to draw myself the closest to God when I'm in the kitchen cooking. Because it's important to me, because cooking is one of my ministries that I do for people. So I think about it. I pray about it. What am I going to fix? How am I going to fix it? What am I going to do? I like to say that I follow I can't even think of what they call it, recipe. That's it, recipe. But the thing is I'm more of a guy that cooks to taste. I put something in, and I taste a little bit of it. Yeah, okay, that's about right. And then I add the next ingredient, and I build it like I do a wall with one brick at a time. And I just keep going and going and going until I go, perfection. Okay, that's what I look for. Sometimes I get disappointed because I can't always get everything that I want. Sometimes I have to change things because what I want isn't available, or I don't have it, and I'm too lazy to go to the store to get it. So I say, okay, what can I substitute here? So we go along here and we see this stuff. As he comes up here, as he sent Obadiah out, they divided the land between them, and Obadiah was in the way. Behold, Elijah met him, and he knew him, and he fell on his face, and he said, Art thou my Lord Elijah? And he answered him, I am. He says, Go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And he said, What have I sinned, that thou wouldest deliver thy servant into the hand of Ahab to slay me? He knew what was going on, didn't he? He said, wait a minute. We've had people looking all over the country. We've sent spies into other countries. We've gone everywhere looking for you. We put a price upon your head. The Lord has kept you hidden, and now you want to go disclose yourself? And he says, As the Lord thy God liveth, there is no nation nor kingdom whither thy Lord hath not sent to look for thee. And he went and said, He is not there. He took an oath of the kingdom and nation, and they found thee not. And now thou sayest, Go tell thy Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And it shall come to pass as soon as I am gone from thee, that the Spirit of the Lord will carry thee whither I know not. And so when I come to tell Ahab, he cannot find thee, and he shall slay me. But I, thy servant, fear the Lord from my youth. Now, Elijah's saying, don't worry about it, Obadiah. As soon as you deliver it, God's going to take care of you. He's going to remove you from the picture. Ahab's not going to be able to find you. You're going to be safe. I'm going to be the one standing in front of him. Elijah knew what his job was. If you remember correctly, Elijah made 7 major miracles. And we're going to see one of them today. Okay? So as we go along, drop down to 17. It says, And it came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, Art thou he that troubleth Israel? I love this answer. And he answered, I've not troubled Israel, but thou, and thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast now followed Balaam. Now therefore send and gather me all Israel unto the mount of Carmel, to the prophets of Baal, 450, and the prophets of the groves, 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. Now we're talking about 850 people here. And Elijah's one. But see, there's something Elijah has that the 850 don't have. And that's a living God. Someone to fight his battles, to protect him, to lead him, to guide him, and to direct him. So Ahab sent all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together in Carmel, and Elijah said unto the people, and he said, How long halt thee be between two opinions? And the Lord be God, follow him. If Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. God, he's asking them a question. Hey, who's really God here? You guys bounce back and forth to what's convenient. Does that sound familiar today? When it's convenient to serve God, you serve God. When it's convenient to serve Baal, you serve Baal. You need to make a decision. Get off the fence. Make a choice. And in this challenge, he's telling them, hey, go gather them all up. We're going to meet at Mount Carmel. Now, Mount Carmel basically sits almost in the middle of what was then called Samaria. Okay? It overlooks the giant valley. That valley we've come to know as Megiddo. Okay? Being there, it's beautiful. It sits up top, nice and high. You'll notice one thing about Mount Carmel, as you can see, all the way to the west, which is Jordan, and you can see all the way to the east, which is the Mediterranean Sea, just by turning around in a circle. And you're able to oversee the entire land. Elijah has said, hey, gather all the people of Samaria. He didn't send them to Judah to the southern end. Why? Because they already know who God is. He sent them to Samaria and had all the people gather so they could see the judgment. He's asking for a public trial between God and Baal. Okay? He's telling them, no, we're going to choose today who's going to do it. So round up all the people and bring them here. He gets the people there and he says, so, who are you going to serve? And he says, and so Elijah said to the people, I, even only I, remain the prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450. Let them therefore take 2 bullocks and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves and cut it into pieces and lay it on wood and put no fire under it. And I will dress the other bullock and lay it on wood and put no fire under it. And call ye upon the name of your gods, and I will call upon the name of the Lord. And God that answers by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. Now, how many people here have ever played sports? Okay. Are you familiar with the term trash talking? I knew my son would be. Trash talking is something you do to get inside the minds of the guy you're playing against. Now, what's it common in? Football, basketball, baseball, track, anything that's a competitive sport, there's trash talking. I even one time made the mistake of watching bowling on TV and saw trash talking on bowling. I couldn't believe it. But it was there. We're going to see the inventor of the trash talk. Okay? This is what I love about this guy. He is so funny. And Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, choose you 1 bullock. You know they chose the best one, right? They took a look at the 2 and they said, this one looks like the best. We're going to get it for our God. And he took what was left over. And they dressed it all out and put it under the fire. And they took the bullock that was given him and dressed it and called upon the name of Baal from morning until evening. O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. But they leaped upon the altar which was made. And it came to pass at noon, and Elijah mocked them. And he said, cry aloud, for he is a God. He's talking to somebody. Or maybe he's pursuing something. Or he's in a journey. Or peradventure, he's asleep. and you need to wake him up. Maybe you're not crying loud enough. Come on, pick up your pace. Pick up your game. So what did they do? They cried aloud, and they even went as far as to cut themselves as a manner with knives and lances until the blood gushed out from upon them. And it came to pass when the midday was past, you notice no fire yet, they prophesied unto the time offering in the evening service, and there was neither voice nor any answer nor any that regarded. Everything that they tried, nothing worked. That kind of sounds like today too, huh? We've tried a lot of things and nothing's really worked, but guess what? There is an answer. There's an answer to every problem, every crisis, and every situation that we come to. And Elijah said unto all the people, "Come near to me." And all the people came unto him. And he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. That's the one that Jezebel had torn down. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And the stones he built an altar, the name of the Lord, and he made a trench around the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of wheat. And he put wood in order, and he put the bullocks in the pieces, and he laid out the wood, and he said, "Fill 4 barrels of water and pour it on the burnt sacrifice on the wood." And he said, "Do it a second time." And he said, "Do it a third time." And they did it a third time, till the water ran all over the altar, and he filled the trench with water. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm starting a fire, what's the last ingredient I'm going to add? Water. That's going to hinder me. It's going to slow me down. And here I am trying to prove something, and it gives the appearance that I'm trying to set myself back rather than trying to advance. If I was a gambling man, I'd start putting money on bail right now. Wait a minute. You're going to start a fire that's had 80 gallons of water placed on it? Something tells me that ain't going to happen. But Elijah knew better. And it came to pass the time of the offering and the evening sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, "Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Israel, let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, and that I am a servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their back again." Then fire of the Lord fell, and consumed and burnt the sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. How about that? How about that? Now, what do you think caused Elijah to put the water in there? I know it wasn't common sense, because common sense would have said, get the water away. I believe that Elijah had a direct connection with God, and God wanted to make a bigger impact on the prophets of Baal and show that, you know what, this is nothing. Come on, let's load it up with water. Let's make it more difficult, and then watch how quick I can remedy this position. Watch how quick I can fix this situation. And when the people saw it, they all fell on their faces and said, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." And Elijah said unto them, "Take the prophets of Baal." And that lot, one of them escaped. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook of Kishon and slew them there. Now, I want to go back to our note sheet for a second before I pursue this any farther and have you fill in some blanks. Now, this is for you to remember and come back to, okay? The easiest and the correct way is to confront sin and wrongdoing. Number 3 is prayer, obedience, and listening are keys. Elijah would have never done what he did had he not prayed to God, listened to God, and obeyed God. No man in their right mind would have put themselves into that position unless he knew God was with him. Fourth thing, understand this. A leader will make mistakes from time to time. Do you believe that? Understand, a leader is no more than a person just like you. He's not perfect, and he's going to make mistakes. But the important thing is to remember is the person that doesn't make mistakes, that's a person that's not doing anything. Hear me again. A person that doesn't make mistakes is a person that's not doing anything. If you're not trying, you're never going to succeed. Always put up a goal at the end, a target, if you may, to hit. What if you miss that target? Does it mean you failed? No. But I'll tell you what, you're a whole lot closer to that target than you would have been if you would have done nothing. You've improved your life, you've improved your spiritual situation, you've improved your condition because you tried. And if you tried with God, you got right where God wanted you to be. You didn't fall short. You made it to where He wanted you to get to. Because if He would have wanted you to get farther, guess what? You would have got farther. We always achieve with the Lord. Number 5, never put your guard down. As a leader, you must be prepared to stand. And as a leader, you know what you're standing for. You know, I've had people ask me, hey, you're a preacher. Someone attacks your family, you're going to turn the other cheek, right? I said, probably not. But I haven't been tested yet because nobody's ever attacked my family. Probably for fear of what I might do. But, I'm not into bullying. I'm not into all that stuff. I'm in protecting my family, my friends, and my loved ones. And I'll even go as far to say my church. You can mess with a lot of things in my life, but don't mess with any of those. Because it upsets me. And not many people see me upset. Maybe my wife and my children. But that's about it. But I refuse to let the enemy get a victory over my friends with me just sitting back and say, well, it's not my problem. No, it is my problem because I am my brother's keeper. And I talk to a lot of people. I'm in charge of a lot of people. I do a lot of things in my life. And it's very important. Here Elijah's got the entire nation of Samaria looking to him. Not the king, to him. For leadership in God. Because they know without God, they can't be a success. Now, God puts an apple on or a cherry on top of this sundae that He's prepared. With roast beef and fire and wood and rock and hay and stubble and all that stuff. And that cherry is this. Elijah said unto Ahab, get thee up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of an abundance of rain. Now wait a minute, it hadn't rained in 3 years. And you're hearing rain? Something, you look it up, and there's not a cloud in the sky. And Ahab went, because, he just learned a valuable lesson on who was God, right? And he ate and he drank, and Ahab went up to the top of Carmel. And Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he cast himself upon the earth, and put his face between his knees, and he said to his servant, "Go up now, look toward the sea." And he went up and he looked and he said, "There's nothing." And he said, "Go again 7 times. And it came to pass the 7th time that he said, "Behold, there ariseth a little crowd out of the sea, like a man's hand." And he said, "Go up, say unto Ahab, Prepare thy chariot, get thee down, for the rain stop thee not." And it came to pass in that while that the heaven was black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins, and he ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Now, right now, he's done a lot of good things, right? He's brought rain back to the nation. He's removed the drought. But now he comes into it. Like anything else, when you get a great victory, does the devil let you just walk around and look at me, I won? No, usually he's there to throw a big right hand to try to knock you out. And he does this to Elijah. It says, "And it came to pass, and Ahab told Jezebel in chapter 19 all that Elijah had done, and with all how he had slain the prophets with the sword. And Jezebel sent a message to Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow at this time." So what does Jezebel say? You know what? Because you did that, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to take your life. Now, Elijah's just performed this great miracle. And what does he do? He cuts and runs. He takes off. Poor decision. But it was in the Lord's timing. Because after this event, the Lord takes the anointing off of Elijah and puts it on a prophet called Elisha. Now, Elisha had one prayer, and his prayer was that I have double the presence of God in my life that Elijah had. Now, when you study your Bible and you look at it, you'll see that Elijah did 7 miracles. Elisha did 14. Looks like God answered that prayer, huh? Why? Because it was in the service of the Lord. Number 5 says, never put your guard down. For a leader, you must be prepared to stand. Elijah wasn't prepared to stand when it came back to him. And it cost him. And number 6, never lose your focus when you're doing the Lord's beckoning. When you take your eyes off of God and you put them on the situation, that's when you run. When it's time to stand, you stand. It's very important, folks, and I realize this. When you fall, numerous people fall behind you. You're not the only one that takes the fall. And it saddens me every time I see a leader in the church fall and make a poor decision. Because people that follow them and wrongly put them on a pedestal that they shouldn't be on because he's no different than you. He's no different than me. We all put our pants on the same way. We all button our shirts or pull our t-shirts down the same way. We're human beings. We make mistakes. But as leaders, we have to learn to grab our pants, hike them up, and say, "Here am I, Lord, use me." Here am I, Lord, use me. Not, "Here am I, Lord, send him." I know I'm here, but send Aaron. He's younger. He can do that stuff. I've done that. Been there, done that. That's not how God works. You need to say, "Here I am, Lord, use me." You say, "Well, I don't know what to be used for." You know, for the last 4 weeks, I've been hearing the pastor make a cry for help here at the church. We need help. We need volunteers. You think you need volunteers now? Wait till next week when you start 2 services. You're going to be needing help. And if you're not careful and you don't stand up and you don't answer the call, you know what you're going to do? You're going to burn your staff out to the point they're not going to be able to perform. Even though they're doing it for the right reasons, you can only push this raggedy old suitcase so far before it falls apart. Okay? So if God's tinkering with your heart to do something, ask somebody. If you don't know what to do, you got Austin in the back, got Aaron right here. Say, hey, what can I do to help ease your burden? Put a little bit of the burden on you. It's not difficult. It's not hard. It's fairly easy. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're struggling with that decision, the hardest part of the decision is the struggle. Because once you make it, it's a piece of cake. And that's true in life and in anything you do. The hardest part is to make a decision. When you confront something, you have to confront it. Make the decision and go on. Don't be afraid to make a decision. If it's wrong, guess what? You'll recover from it. If it's right, you'll be better for it. But if it's wrong, you'll learn from it and you'll be better for it. So it's a win-win situation for you. So I ask you today to stand up and be accounted. Be the leader that each and every one of us need to be and know who we are. And know what we can do, who we can help, who we can pray for, who we can assist. Maybe you know somebody that needs some food. Take them some food. And you know what? Another thing on that line right now, real quick. I know I'm getting off the course here a little bit. Take them something you'd like to eat. Okay. Give them something you want to eat. Don't give them something, oh, well, you know what? These canned carrots, they've been in my cupboard for 3 years. I don't need those anymore. I'll give them. They can eat them. Don't do that. Give them some good food and let them rejoice. And then when you do it, don't say, oh, by the way, this is for me. No, this is from the Lord. This is from the Lord. Bless Jesus. Don't thank me, thank Jesus. Okay? Let's pray. Father, as we come to you, Lord, we just thank you so much for the opportunity to grow in your nurture and grace. We just ask, Father, that you would just touch us, lead us, guide us, and direct us, Father. Let us today, as we walk out of here, be closer with you than we've ever been. Let us bless you. Let us walk the path that you would have us be on. You be our guiding light. And let us serve you beyond the best of our ability, but in your ability. And we'll just thank you for all that you're doing in our life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.